The brand new 2014 E-Class also is available at Holmes European. The 2013 GL Class, Motor Trend's 2013 Sport Utility of the Year, the 2013 Mercedes GL. They're ready for you. And, dude, have you seen what they've done with those Sprinter vans, the Mercedes Sprinter vans? They can customize those puppies. For you LSU tailgaters, ULL tailgaters, UL Monroe, Louisiana Tech tailgaters, you don't have to have a big RV and try to figure out where to park that puppy. Now Mercedes and at Holmes European, they have those Mercedes Sprinter vans that are customized that look tight. Holmes European, HolmesAutoGroup.com, supporting the Tim Fletcher Show every day of the week.
Hey, dude, can I go back and I was listening to you in the 6 hour?
Yeah.
Talking about Romo. I almost like came out of my skin when they signed him. Did you know effectively what they did is with his new contract for the Cowboys, effectively for the next 2 years, maybe 3 years, to do anything, they're going to have to go to Tony Romo to restructure his contract. They have essentially, it's the bank of Romo.
Right.
I mean, he must have.
He will determine the future of that franchise by how forgiving he wants to be to Jerry Jones.
Dude, it is. Honestly, this is the closest thing in professional sports to a deal breaker. This is karma in a bad way, Fletch. This is kind of like. This is equivalent to me what the Cowboys did with Romo is the equivalency of how they duped the Vikings on the Herschel Walker trade. And honest to God, this has ramifications that might last forever because he just, he's not putting up the production that some of these other, guys are. Like Flacco, like you mentioned about Manning. You're right. Manning and Flacco's regular season stats are not pretty. I mean, they don't woo you. But when they get to the playoffs, they make plays. They don't buckle. They don't choke. You know what I'm saying? So you pay those guys a big money. He hasn't done anything, but you're paying him. But to do anything now with the way it's set up, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, you put all your eggs in one basket. Fletcher, I just see this thing as this franchise could be really
this
bad.
year his salary cap hits like $1.5 million or whatever. But next year I think it's 13.5, and then it's 15.5 or 17.5. And so they're going to be up against every team's up against the salary cap except for the Chiefs. It seems like on a yearly basis. So once they get up to the cap, you're exactly right. Where's Jones going to go? Hey, Tony, any way you want to restructure that contract? No, dude. I'm not going to restructure my contract.
Yeah.
You've got me at $20.5 million at the end of this thing that I know I'll never see. 19.5 or whatever the year before that I'll never see. So I want my 14.5 this year. And so Jones is either going to have to do I've got to cut my favorite player.
Yeah.
I've got to cut my quarterback, man. Yeah. Or does he suck it up and go, well, I guess we'll just suck elsewhere.
Well, that's a
slippery slope.
And that's what he decided to do. But the bad thing about that is even if they did let him go, well, this year, even next year, he's going to be on the books for, 5 years. You're going to have that contract looming. So I just see that. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he must have something on Jones. I don't know, but that is the craziest thing. Why not let him play out this year on his contract year? It's not like he's going anywhere. It's not like is some other team really going to, or the Bills going to come out of nowhere and say, okay, we'll give you a $40 million. Oh, by the way, the Bills signed, $6 million to Cobb. What the hell? What are we coming to?
Kevin Cobb has gotten $30 million over the last 4 years.
God.
For teams, the Eagles, the Cardinals, and the Bills, that he is going to suck for all three. Let's go to G Money. Wants to talk a little high school baseball real quick. We're going to have Mike Thibodeaux join us in just about 5 minutes to discuss the Pac-12 recruiting scandal. Thibodeaux, of course, a referee of much note around here. Good morning, G Money. What's going on?
Hey, gentlemen, first I want to reference a Surface song, I Miss You. Ed Hardy, where you been, man? I when you first came on the show, I was like, this is different, but now that you're there, man, don't leave us.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Much appreciated.
Hey, the other thing, what about this North Dakota baseball team, Mr. Fletcher? They're playing ball.
13 straight wins, I believe, 14 straight wins.
They pounded Loyola. Wow.
Bo Odom, state champions last year. They, lose a couple of kids that, many people thought, well, how are they going to replace those guys? Jalen West and all that. Not Jalen West, but, but how are they going to replace those kids? Jalen West plays point guard for Northwestern State out of Bossier High. They didn't lose him. But here they are replacing them. They absolutely, they pounded Loyola yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Nah, I see it in the box score.
Yeah.
Yesterday, like 12-0, 13-0.
Making up the Saturday rainouts, yeah.
Parkway did a little pounding, too.
Well, Parkway has this Harper kid that's pretty darn good. Throws a 5-inning, 2-hitter yesterday in a run-shortened game, a mercy rule game, I guess. This Harper kid, he's something else.
He appreciated the retweet.
Oh, that's a good thing.
He did. But I did want to talk a little bit Landon Lewis. Airline, he's 5-0, standing on the hill and carrying Airline a little bit. Airline's got a decent team, and this thing's going to come down to, I think, a final week, in District 1-5A, without a doubt. But, hey, let me talk to you what you just said. Does Tony Romo have something on Jerry Jones? That's the same thing with Jordan Jefferson and Les Miles. I mean, why did he defend him like he did? Or hide him like he did? Or play? I mean, what is there that some of these guys might have on the guys that determine playing time or determine contracts? Romo's not that good.
It was always, when he was picked up, of course, he was a free agent pickup guy out of nowhere, and maybe it was like, oh, that's Bill Parcells' big find. Maybe, honestly, I'm come to think that maybe Jones had a part in that. Like, hey, let's put the guy in. Like it was his idea. So maybe he's saying, I have some ownership in this. He's my guy. And maybe that has something to do with it. Not like he's a general manager, which they don't have, that drafted this guy's going to be the future, and get rid of him. But maybe he has some ownership of him. I don't know. It is nuts, dude. It really is. What is he nuts. Good at? He can scramble like the best of them.
He makes bad plays into good plays. Well, we'll give Romo that.
Oh, he's
very athletic.
The quickest release in football.
He's got a very quick release, but his decision making and his ability to come up with something in crunch time and his tendency to turn the ball over is not exactly what you want out of a quarterback.
Then are the other tools on the field inhibiting
you call them
him
tools,
from
not
being
me.
a star?
Huh?
Are the other players on the field keeping him from being the star that
well, that's what Jerry Jones is banking on. That's what he is certainly saying. We've got, we have no components in place except for the best quarterback in the league, so we're going to build around him. That is exactly what Jerry Jones is saying, that we don't have enough players around him, so we got to make sure that we keep him. So there you go.
Not a huge LSU fan, not a humongous Matt Flynn fan, but I'm a fan of a guy who does it the right way, waited his chance, got his opportunity, and I hate the Raiders, but I hope they do something to win. I hope he's successful.
And they've already renegotiated his contract. All right. Thanks a lot there, G Money, checking in with us on this lovely day. Gotta love hearing G Money. And your volume wasn't up. Can we get to Killer Dog real quick? Because we're going to have... Hung up. All right, we're going to have Mike Thibodeaux join us after this timeout. Thibodeaux going to talk a little about the officiating scandal out of the Pac-12. Bunky Perkins expected to join us at the bottom of the hour, talking a little WWE Raw, Ole Miss, the one-year anniversary of Bobby Petrino's skating shake to get out of Arkansas.
Doing some things up there in Western Kentucky.
And Dunk City is no more. Dunk City is no more. Andy Enfield is gone. He's a SoCal guy now. That'll make his model wife happy. Get out of wretched Fort Myers and get to SoCal. We're going to be back with more of the Tim Fletcher Show, presented to you by the fine folks at Bailey's Jewelers on East Texas Bailey's, where jewelry is absolutely appealing. When you walk in, you're going to be absolutely mesmerized by some of the beautiful pieces of jewelry on display. But remember, if you have jewelry that needs to be repaired, Gary and Paul can take care of that. You have jewelry that you would like to sell, gold, silver, platinum pieces, they pay top dollar. The highest cash value that you'll get for that gold, silver, and platinum can be found at Bailey's Jewelers on East Texas in front of Pierre Bossier Mall. Bailey's, supporting the Tim Fletcher Show, your home of Luminox watches, the official watch of the Navy SEALs. We're back. Old beer. El Chico Mexican Restaurant has 3 locations in Shreveport. Of course, you've got the Madison Park location with a large gathering spot for the banquet. If you have a big meeting or the homeowners association wants to get together, great place to be. How about East Burke Coons with a little love cove off to the side? Yeah, a little privatization. And don't forget Greenwood Road. My gosh, what about that meeting room behind the bar? It makes me feel like I'm doing something important. El Chico's Mexican Restaurant, your family Tex-Mex dining establishment that serves you so well.
Thank you, Regional Urology. Thank you, Holmes Honda and Holmes European. Landers Fiat, Landers Dodge, Chrysler Jeep, Ram. Casio's Market Bistro, Caddo Lawn Care, you know they do firewood, Jimmy V's Fajita Factory, Daiquiri Express, What's on Tap and What's on Tap 2, Smitty's Pizza, and Stockies in Houghton, El Chico's, Porter's Fine Dry Cleaning, Jeff's Pest Control. Without these guys, we wouldn't have local sports talk and the Tim Fletcher Show. Thanks.
This is 1130 The Tiger.
Welcome back, kids. For those in Bossier Parish and Loyola, welcome back to school today.
I would hate to hear those words.
Well, you unfortunately, you just heard them, Chris D. Oh, wait, you're on spring break this week.
Yeah.
Said the kids on spring break this week. LSU system on spring break this week. Our phone number, 320-1130 here on the Tim Fletcher Show, and we have a new text line. If you want to rant about something or want to add your 2 cents, but you don't feel like calling, you're not a big Twitter guy, of course, we'd love for you to follow us on Twitter, @Fletch Worldwide, @Fletch Worldwide. But you can also text us now at 318-GUY-PILE, 318-GUY-PILE. And pile on, ran away with whatever is going on in your world. Bucky Perkins will join us at 7:30 at the bottom of the hour. We are joined now on the phone by the wonderful Mike Thibodeaux, noted basketball referee. He's the director of officials, or I don't exactly know the right terminology to determine to describe what Mike does for Caddo Parish, Bossier Parish, high school referees as well. But I just know this. If I see a game and Mike Thibodeaux is refereeing, I know it's going to be a well-officiated game. Good morning, Mike Thibodeaux. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Tim. I appreciate the kind words.
You're a good fella. How's life treating you, buddy?
Doing good. Umpiring a little high school baseball and relaxing and enjoying the NCAA tournament.
Well, same here. Did you do any conference tournaments this year?
No, I didn't. I didn't do any conference tournaments. Worked a couple of CIT and NIT games, and so was still involved a little bit late in the preseason.
All right. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the situation that I texted you about and asked you to join us here on the show. Are you familiar with former NBA referee Ed Rush, now the Pac-12 coordinator of basketball officials?
Right, that's correct. We had heard about this actually right after it happened, in the Pac-12 kind of circulated among the officiating community and really raised some eyebrows with the officials when that got out a couple of weeks ago.
Do you know Ed Rush personally? Have you ever worked with him or been around him?
Well, I've met him at a couple of referee camps and stuff, and but I've never worked for him.
Okay. Apparently, according to Jeff Goodman, who wrote this article on CBS Sports, the MO on Ed Rush is he's kind of, according to the source for the story, he's a little bit of a bully. And just for the background of the story, if you're not familiar with it, during the Pac-12 tournament, Ed Rush, who is the head of the coordinator of basketball officials in that conference, according to a source who spoke with Jeff Goodman of CBS, told a group of referees on the Thursday of the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas that he would give them $5,000 or a trip to Cancun if they either, quote, rang him up, end quote, or ran him. And he's talking about Arizona coach Sean Miller, meaning that if the referees hit Miller with a technical or tossed him out of the game, Ed Rush would reward them. Now, the source said he was emphatic about not dealing with Miller. He made that perfectly clear. And then, Mike Thibodeaux, as you are probably well aware, Michael Irving, I don't know if you've ever worked with him, hit Sean Miller with a controversial technical foul with 4:37 to play in the Pac-12 semifinals against UCLA in a game the Bruins ended up winning 66-64. Miller was upset about a non-call or double dribble call on Arizona point guard Mark Lyons, arguing that a UCLA player had gotten his hand on the ball before Lyons picked it up. He said he did not yell any profanities. He basically told reporters later all I said was he touched the ball, he touched the ball, he touched the ball, he touched the ball, he touched the ball. Well, he was fined $25,000 and reprimanded by the Pac-12 for complaining about the officiating. What is your take on this from a referee standpoint? Is this possible? Does this happen? Is this rare, just in your point of view?
Well, it's very rare. I talked to a couple of guys that was actually in the meeting, the Pac-12 officials meeting, when he said it, and they said, sure, it probably could have been taken in jest, but at the same time, coming out of a supervisor's mouth, you sit there and say, Now, do we take this guy serious if we go out there? And I'm sure Michael Irvin, in the back of his mind, when Sean Miller started his antics on the sideline about the double dribble call, how far was Michael going to let him go? It even went as far as in another article I read that, and Michael is a pretty calm guy. I know him, and he just doesn't go out there, bird dogging benches looking to throw technical fouls around. So, and that's what another guy said in an article that was an unnamed source, that Michael is not one to go out there and just start throwing technical fouls around, especially at that time in the game, late in the game like that. So whether it did put doubt in everybody's mind that did he go out there headhunting just because of what Ed Rush had said in the officials meeting at the Pac-12 tournament. So, there's a lot of things in this situation that really raised a bunch of eyebrows. I've never heard of a supervisor or official say that. A lot of times they'll say, look, this coach is having a rough season, or he's doing this or doing that. Try to work with him, go the extra mile with him if you can, or early in the game, give him a stop sign. That's the proper protocol for NCAA officials. Is the first thing you do is give them a warning. Coach, I've heard enough. This is your warning. You turn to the table, put it in the book. Coach Miller from Arizona has been warned. Announce it over the loudspeaker. None of that ever happened. It was just bam, just for no profanity. And that's what really raised some eyebrows, too, is that if it's no profanity and he's still in the box, that's clearly a warning. And that's where, in the officiating community, everybody said he may have took that to heart instead of a jest comment.
Now, some people wonder, and, of course, Mike Thibodeaux joining us. Mike, how many years have you been a college basketball refereeing?
This is my 27th year.
All right, so he has been around the game for quite some time and refereed some of the biggest games that you could possibly imagine. Now, Mike, one of the things that has come out of this is that, maybe Michael Irving, the ref who teed up Sean Miller in the Pac-12 tournament, maybe he didn't do it to get a $5,000 cash reward or a trip to Cancun, but there are those who believe that he didn't want to be left out of some plum assignments or some work assignments down the road, and that he did feel bullied, perhaps by Ed Rush. That the coordinator of officials in the Pac-12, Ed Rush, when he said, do this, or you're not going to get the better assignments, or I may, leave you out of the mix for a little while. Is there a possibility? What goes into the mind of someone, I guess, is what I'm wondering. Mike, when
right.
The guy who is basically your boss and who determines your job assignments, if he just tells you to either do this or you're in trouble, basically, some people look at this not only as bonus money, this is a way of life for a lot of these refs. There's good money in Pac-12 basketball officiating, I would assume, and you don't want to be left out of the mix, right?
Well, that's true. All across the country, it's the same way as far as the financial end of it. It's big business in college basketball when you have coaches making millions of dollars, and some of these leagues in the country can pay upward as much as $3,000 a game, and down to some of the lower leagues around $650. I mean, that's been put out in ESPN. It's pretty much common knowledge. And then here's a guy that sits there. Not only is maybe Michael Irvin thinking, if I don't do what Ed Rush says, does that keep me out of the Pac-12 championship game? He may have had a shot for that.
Right.
Or does he call and take me out of the NCAA tournament or a NIT game or a CIT game? Those are things that could have went through his mind. And instead of having the idea, well, I'm going to work with Coach Miller tonight, I'm going to try to, let him know he's about to cross the line, or do I have a quick trigger because of what Ed Rush says? And because if Ed decides to let Michael Irvin go, it's hard to pick up a league, especially a BCS league, and especially if you live out on the West Coast, it's hard to get picked up in the SEC or the Big 12 or ACC, Big East, Big 10, something like that. So he could have been put in that situation in the back of his mind. He's thinking, I want to please the guy that's, batting me financially as well.
And I assume, Mike, that if you get banished, from the Pac-12 by the coordinator officials, that's a black mark on your resume. That some people may look at you, whether you're another BCS conference, may look at you as damaged goods. Well, heck, if Ed Rush says that, wouldn't let this guy work anymore and told him he's taking him out of assignments, then maybe we should back away from him.
Well, that's true. You get that, and all of a sudden, anybody that starts downward and starts losing leagues. Is he the official that he was when he was working in the SEC right. or Big 10, Big 12, whatnot? It's going to get real interesting, Tim. I know the coaches, from talking to some of the guys that's in the league, all coaches meet at the Final Four. And from what we're hearing is that it's not over by any means. And so it'll be interesting what comes out of the Final Four with the Pac-12 coaches meeting.
This doesn't help the idea that referees sometimes can influence the game more than what their intention is and what the game is intended to be, called by officials. If you're a college basketball coach, can you understand why they would now certainly be a little bit more skeptical of some calls late in the game? Not to cast aspersions on officials, because I hope that you are well aware, Mike, I have long cited on the hard job the refs have on a daily basis, whether it's high school football games or a college basketball game or an NFL official or an NBA official. That is a tough job. But doesn't this put referees under the spotlight where they don't really necessarily want to be?
Oh, sure it does. Exactly. It's just another black eye that you're out there now trying to defend yourself, especially with coaches. And, it's hard enough to make a split decision call. And I just don't think officials are good enough to sit there in a split second of a block charge or a goaltending to all of a sudden process through their mind, oh, this needs to go for the visiting team, or this needs to go. That's hard enough. But when you're dealing with coaches on the sideline and it's dead ball time and you have time to think, okay, I'm going to hit him with a technical instead of, well, I'm going to give him a warning in this situation and see if he'll calm down. Those are easy to process when play's not going on. Rather is that a quick block charge? Is that a quick, is his
right.
feet inside the circle, which, they've had a couple of plays like that in some tournaments and stuff. So those are quick judgment calls that I don't think any official in the country is good enough to say, okay, this is going for the home team on a split-second call, as much as the supervisor says, make sure you don't deal with him long tonight. We want to really take care of him quick and early in the game, and it really it's going to be interesting to see if Ed Rush can survive this with the coaches meeting, because it's going to be something that is in the mind of all coaches. Well, what did Ed Rush say about me?
Exactly. That's the other thing. What has he said about others, and what has he told other officials in private? Maybe not in a group meeting, but just in hey, guys, when you go out of this assignment, you know what? I've never liked this fellow. Why don't you take care of him? So that certainly opens up a can of worms. Mike, before we let you go, Mike Thibodeaux joining us here. He's been a college basketball ref for 27 years. You see him at games around here all the time. Certainly has helped the high school officiating in this area of the country get better and better. And I think we have the best high school football and basketball refs in the state here, and there's a reason why when you see them work a game in the Sweet 16 or the top 28 or the high school football state championships, you can tell when a Shreveport Bossier crew is working it. They seem to do a better job. Mike, last thing I have for you, the NCAA tournament seems to be chock full of fouls, and a lot of fouls being called, and just fouls that are called at different points of the game. It seems like referees in this NCAA tournament have become more of a focal point for the fans watching and the broadcasters than in years past. Is the game in college basketball, do we need a shorter shot clock? Do we need a little bit wider lane? And do we need to move the three-point line back? In other words, it seems like everything's clogging up and gumming up the works a little bit. And to me, that makes it tougher for officials. What's your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's funny. I was watching Faraday last night with Bobby Knight on there, and I think he's got a great analogy that basketball needs to do just what baseball does. If a player wants to go to the NBA, he needs to go before he starts college. Mm-hmm. And then once he starts college, he's got to stay there for 3 years. And that's happening. You notice the teams like Northwestern State, Stephen F. Austin, these teams that have players that's been there 4 years, they're a lot easier to officiate, like Kentucky this year. You thought they'd come in there with all those McDonald All-Americans, and all of a sudden they can't gel. These kids aren't good enough now to come in 1 year, and that's where the tough officiating comes in, is these powerhouse teams are playing freshmen that are really hard to get acclimated to, and the speed of the game coming out of high school, it just overwhelms some of these guys. And if they're not just outstanding, but you go referee a team that's got juniors and seniors, they're pretty seasoned and easy to officiate. It's just, and they're wanting us to, one of the key statements they talk about in basketball is rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. If a player's rhythm, speed, balance, or quickness gets disrupted by a defensive player's contact, then that's a foul. Well, a stronger player can play through that. A smarter player can know what the contact is and what contact's not that's going to create a foul. And a younger player is just out there going 90 miles an hour, excited to be in the game. The game is hard to officiate now. It really is, whenever you have the better players leaving for the NBA early, and if you're not dealing with juniors and seniors, it's just real hard to go out there and determine, is this a foul tonight, is this not a foul? Then you get to the NCAA tournament, and the rule there is you got a guy sitting over there observing that grades you whether you move on or not. Now all of a sudden, instead of letting things go that you might, you start calling touch fouls because they want the game cleaned up early, and it's not the same game that was called in conference tournaments or the same game that was called in January and February.
Exactly. Mike Thibodeaux, great job, man. Thank you very much for adding some levity to this situation, and also, being a guy who has been in those meetings, who certainly knows what it's like. I think this is what we need. We need to go to the experts, and you are certainly our go-to guy when it comes to officiating. And Mike Thibodeaux, I certainly appreciate you joining us on such short notice.
Well, I appreciate it, Tim. Anytime I can help, I appreciate it.
You are the man, sir. Have a great day.
Okay, Tim, you too.
Mike Thibodeaux here on the show with us. Guys, when we come back, Bunky Perkins. Remember the old website as seen in Shreveport? That's Bunky. You a big Raw fan? Anybody a wrestling fan in here? I know Ed Hardy used to be a wrestling fan.
It is out.
Going to talk a little wrestling. Are you an Ole Miss fan? I bet DR is an Ole Miss fan. You need to let DR know we're going to break down Ole Miss right here coming up on the Tim Fletcher Show with Bunky Perkins right after this quick getaway.
11:30 The Tiger is your home for LSU sports, with live game coverage of the Fighting Tigers year-round. Your home for LSU football and the Les Miles Show, LSU baseball and men's basketball, with select games from the LSU women's basketball team. And get all the inside information on LSU sports every Tuesday night from 6 to 8 with the Tiger Rag Radio Show, restoring the roar in Northwest Louisiana. This is the home of LSU sports, 1130 The Tiger.